As a matter of fact, they've signed an agreement with the Mountain West only for 2024, and they signed an agreement for all their other Olympic sports outside of the Mountain West. And the second that happened, I was like, what the hell's going on here? All right. Last but not least, we're going to talk about here is connected to San Jose State. So I'm not trying to say they're a terrible brand and this and that, but I'm trying to say here is that unfortunately, there should have been, if the Pac-12 2, okay, the Pac-2, Pac-12, Oregon State and Washington State, I'm just going to call them that. If Oregon State and Washington State had really sought value in the Mountain West in terms of from top to bottom, from San Diego State and Boise State at the top to Nevada and Hawaii and New Mexico at the bottom, if they really saw the value there, they would do a reverse merger. They would add everybody in for free. There would be no cost, this or that. Everything would be just fine. They would have merged the leagues by now. However, you've noticed that they haven't really done that. As a matter of fact, they've signed an agreement with the Mountain West only for 2024, and they signed an agreement for all their other Olympic sports outside of the Mountain West. And the second that happened, I was like, what the hell's going on here? What is going on with that? So I go on to bring this because an article had the agreement between the Mountain West and the Pac-12 2. Here, it details out all the specifics of it and shows the fact that, again, Conference Commissioner Gloria Nevarez, she did a fantastic job negotiating this deal. We will see whether or not some of these stipulations that she put in it come into effect. Just give me a second here to bring this up. NevadaSportsNet.com. So this comes from a Nevada Wolfpack perspective here. Inside the Mountain West Pac-12 contract, why it could cost Oregon State, Washington State nearly $140 million to poach the Mountain West. Now, I want to make sure that is a little bit misleading. It could, but it would be one of the dumbest decisions if they did it in that way. I'll show you why based on the specifics here. It could cost the two remaining Pac-12 schools, Wazoo and Oregon State, almost $140 million to poach the Mountain West if it attempts to rebuild its conference in the coming years. That nugget of information was gathered Tuesday by Nevada Sports Net, which had its public records request for the Pac-12 and Mountain West football scheduling agreement fulfilled by Oregon State Athletics this week. What basically that means is my boy, Matt Brown, who does a lot of stuff on EA College Football, by the way, he is going to be on this channel within the next couple of weeks. I'm going to make sure that I show you guys when that happens here. He has public records requests. Basically, if it does deals with public institutions, you can have a freedom of information request, and you can get the details of what's happening between them and other entities. So the 106-page document outlines the football scheduling agreement between the two conferences, a planned scheduling basketball agreement that never came to be, outlines for a potential merger between the conferences, and safeguards the Mountain West put in place in case the Pac-2 attempts to take some, but not all, of its member institutions. The Mountain West will be owed a huge financial sums if Oregon State and Washington State aims to poach the Mountain West. It says here the contract, which is labeled privileged and confidential executed version, includes the Pac-2 agreeing to pay strong withdrawal fees to take Mountain West schools before August 2nd of 2027, which is the 2-year anniversary of the contracts. And basically what that means is that the Pac-2 and the Mountain West, right now the Pac-2 is trying in the CFP, the next iteration of the CFP, when the Pac-12 had the rest of its members, it was understood that it was going to be the 6 highest rated conference champions. That basically means the 5 power conferences, and then 1 G5 conference would get a slot in the playoff, and then 6 at-large bids. Now, because one of them is falling apart, they're saying it should be a 5 and 7. So 7 at-large bids, and then it should be 5 bids. Basically, what it would be is the SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and then the best between the Mountain West, Sun Belt, Conference USA, MAC, and then the American. The best between those 2 or those 5 would be the last one there. However, right now the Pac-12 is like, hey, just give us some more time. We'll get you an answer on what the conference is going to look like. We'll get you an answer because right now it's not really a conference. You only have 2 members. It's technically a conference, but it's not really one. So they're kind of in a weird spot there. So with that, they've signed an agreement for the ability for them to play a conference schedule, although it's going to be non-conference games in between them and Mountain West schools. They're basically saying that this next season, they're going to have the ability to play, like as an example, Boise State's going to play Oregon State and Washington State, part of that agreement, and other teams as well. But in order to prevent the Mountain West and basically the Pac-2 being like, hey, we like you, we don't like you, we like you, we don't like you, we only want the teams we want, we don't want the teams we don't. Part of this agreement says, okay, If you do that, that's fine. If you get one of our schools, it's going to cost you 10 million bucks. The second is going to cost you 10 and a half. Third, 11. Third, 11. Fourth, 11 and a half. Fifth, 12th. Sixth, 12th and a half. To the point to where if you take half of our league, it's $67 million. So thinking about this here, there's a couple of different ways this works. Notice how it says 11 institutions here. So $137 million, $140 million bucks to post the whole league. Hawaii is a partial member. Hawaii has football in the league, but their Olympic sports are in the Big West. So basically, they either play in Hawaii or they fly to LA and they play in LA proper. However, I don't think that they would want everybody. I listened to an article recently on Sikkim 365 Sports talking about an Oregon State insider basically saying they like San Diego State, they like Fresno State, they like Boise State, they like Colorado State, they like Nevada, or they like UNLV. Not thrilled with San Jose State, not thrilled with Utah State, not thrilled with New Mexico. Some schools like that. So there's a couple of different options here. One, it could be they add teams that they want up to the point of, like I said, if it's 6 teams, it's $67 million. I think the number would be 6. It would probably be San Diego State, Fresno State, Boise State, those 3, UNLV, Colorado State, and Air Force. You'd have presence in the big cities, Nevada. You'd have presence in Southern California. You'd have presence in Colorado. You would be a pretty good broad, group there. I like Wyoming as an institution. Wyoming only has 6,000 students. It's kind of a small institution there. There could be that option where the conference pays that much. There's also a couple other options here where another option would be if the Mountain West members vote to dissolve the conference, which would require 3/4 vote or 9 of 12 football playing members. At that point, those schools could join the Pac-12 without exit fees and potentially withdrawal fees, depending upon how much the contract below is interpreted. So the problem with that, though, is that let's just say the Pac-2, they really like 6 or 7 of the teams, but they have to add 9. It would be something, or there would be 2 teams that would be like, yeah, we're going to vote to dissolve the league, and then they don't get the invite from the Pac-12. They'd be kind of SOL. They'd be in a bad spot there. There's also the reverse merger, and the reverse merger, the issue with that is the fact that you get all of those teams. You get your New Mexicos, you get your Wyomings with your small, alumni base. Utah State as a R1 research institution. I like you, Utah State. Don't get me wrong. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, here, football moves the chains here. And again, there's a couple other things here where there's administrative fees here from Oregon State, Washington State within 5 days of the contract. They also, these combined pots will guarantee at least $14 million to the Mountain West, which includes $12.5 million due by the end of 2024. So again, we don't know what's going to happen here with that. We do know that the West Coast Conference, I thought it was the Big West between the other conferences there, but the West Coast Conference is hosting the rest of these sports, meaning a full integration is not something they're really liking right now. Again, if the football scheduling agreement is extended into the 2025 season, the Mountain West opponents for Oregon State and Washington State would remain the same, but the home and away designations for the 2024 configuration would be reversed. We also see the fact that the Pac-12 and the Mountain West will both retain the television rights for the home games played between these schools. So unfortunately, if you're playing at Oregon State or Washington State, you've got Pac-12 After Dark. You also have to find it on, what is it? It's on it's on, Comcast or something like that. Whatever happens there. All I know is that that's the situation right now. Currently, the specifics have been set between the conference and between the Mountain West. Pac-2, 12, Pac-12, 2. I don't know what to say. And the conference have been set. Basically, if you want half the league, it's going to cost you $67 million. Remember here, the Pac-12, with those 2 teams, they have access with an agreement that came forward. I believe it was John Canzano said they have access to $255 million worth of resources. So you take 67 of that, apply that towards this. You split the 190. You could do something like that. Do you want to take that? $67 million is a lot of money. I don't really know, but I do know that let's say something like that happens. Again, here, a couple of possibilities are, again, I think that there are universities that weren't invited to the Big 12 that could have been, but they just didn't make the cut. Most notably Memphis. Memphis is one that is, again, it's not too far from Colorado. It's far, but it's not too far. I'm also thinking, again, Tulane. Like I said, I think Tulane's going to get plucked by the ACC if anything happens there. But UT San Antonio is another one. Texas State is a program that is really trying to invest in their football program. I don't think UTEP or New Mexico State, I think that they're kind of the same thing as New Mexico there. I'm interested in North Texas just because it's in Dallas. Like I know, I don't know necessarily if North Texas is the biggest brand. It's a pretty big school. It's a pretty big school. It's not a bad one to add there. UTSA, North Texas, Memphis, maybe Texas State. Add 4 down there. Get the 6 from the Out West, 2 more from Oregon State and Washington State. Add yourself into a 12-team league, something like that. I think that's probably the move. What happens though? I don't really know. The last one here between the Mountain West and the Pac-2 and that whole agreement there. I think that Gloria Nevarez, the commissioner of the Mountain West, I think she understands that the Pac-2 does not want the entirety of the Mountain West. As to whether or not they can pull everybody or not, or pull what they want, whether or not they're willing to do it. Remember, the Pac-12 has made bad decisions before. I don't know, but I do know that that is what we're probably headed for. But again, you guys get in the comments right now. Let me know what you guys think. That is it for me, guys. I will see you guys later. I am out.